Welcome to church in Ocean Park. Glad to see new friends and old friends, and just so glad to be here with everybody. We're going to start off today with a Joni Mitchell song because today is, well, Jimi Hendrix's 80th birthday. Oh my
What?
God.
Oh my word.
I
Whoa.
know. I know. Woo. So I know I see you, Sylvia. Yeah. Well, there you go. So I'm going
Yeah.
to start off with, the song that Kate was coming to me as I was thinking about him uh, is the song by Joni Mitchell, Woodstock. I'm always remembering the way he played that, the way he played at Woodstock. So welcome to the church in Ocean Park. And everybody put yourselves on mute, please, but sing out loud on mute. Yes, I know. I came upon a child of God. He was walking along the road. Woo, there you go. And I asked him, "Where are you going?" This he told me. Wow, thank you, Sylvia. He said, "I'm going down to Yaska's farm. Think I'll join a rock and roll band. Yeah, we'll camp out on the land. Try to set my soul free. We are stardust. We are golden. And we've got to get ourselves back to the garden. Oh, back to the garden." Hey, was anybody here at Woodstock? Did anybody get to go?
On television.
Yeah, on television. Chris Chappell, were you there by any chance?
I actually have tickets. And I was in a play that weekend, so I could not leave town.
Oh, wow. But still, that's amazing. Wow.
Yeah. I gifted the tickets to our son, so he'll have them in posterity.
Very cool. Very cool.
Joni Mitchell was supposed to get to Woodstock, but she couldn't make it because of the traffic.
That's right. That's right. The traffic and the rain.
Yeah.
Bob Dylan didn't show up either.
And I walk beside you. I have come here to lose the smile. And I feel just like a cog in something turning. Oh, well, maybe it's the time of year or the time of a woman and man. And I don't know who I am, but life's for learning. We are stardust. We are golden. And we've got to get ourselves back to the garden. Oh, back to the garden. Ooh. Well, by the time we got to Woodstock, we were 500,000 strong. Yes, and everywhere there was song and celebration. Then I dreamed I saw the bombers riding shotgun in the sky, turning into butterflies above our nation. We are stardust. We are golden. We are caught in a devil's bargain. Oh, but we got to get ourselves back to the garden. Oh, back to the garden. Oh, oh, oh. So happy 80th birthday, Jimi Hendrix, and welcome everybody to the church in Ocean Park.
Greetings all. Hi, my name is Joseph Hepburn, and I'm here to welcome you as well. We are members of the church in Ocean Park. We are here to welcome you to this unique interfaith community dedicated to social justice. Now you may be wondering if you are welcome here. We are interfaith, so you are welcome if you are Jewish, if you are Muslim, if you are Hindu, if you're Buddhist, if you're Christian, if you're atheist, or if, as a patient told me the other day, if that he is a dedicated Jew, and oh, I can't remember all the names, but whatever it is, you are welcome. You are welcome if you just came in from a protest march and you are unable to attend protest marches right now, or if you are confused about what to do. You are welcome if you miss Pride Month activities, if you missed your Thanksgiving dinner and your Thanksgiving participation and enjoyment, and well, you can enjoy your service with us here this morning. You are welcome if you don't have a job, if you never had a job, or if even you don't want a job. You are welcome if you are a renter, a landlord, or both. We extend a special invitation to those who are single, married, divorced, gay, gender, filthy rich, or dirt poor. Now we extend a special invitation to those who are just browsing, just woke up, or even just got out of prison. We don't care if you are more religious than the Pope or more sanctimonious than the king. We are welcome here. We extend a special invitation to those who are over 60. In fact, all the Gen Zs, millennials, Gen X, baby boomers, and those who are too mature to be categorized. We invite soccer moms, tree huggers, latte sippers, vegetarians, junk food eaters. We invite all who are in recovery or still addicted. Yes, we invite you if you are having problems, if you are down in the dumps, if you don't like organized religion. We offer a special invitation to those who work too hard, those who can't find work at this day and heard that this is a strange church. We invite those who are inked, pierced, or both. We invite tourist seekers, doubters, bleeding hearts, and you, and you, and you. Welcome to the church in Ocean Park.
Thank you, Reverend Joseph. My name is Janet Gallery McKithen, and I'm the minister here at the church in Ocean Park, and I also welcome you. I want to let you know that since we are diverse, what people say here are their own opinions and beliefs, not the church's beliefs. So if you hear something you disagree with, just know that your voice is just as important as theirs is. Let's pause for a moment for a land acknowledgement. We, the people of the church in Ocean Park, recognize that we are sitting on stolen land. In Santa Monica, we, the settlers of this land, honor the Kizh, the Tongva, and the Chumash peoples. We are grateful for you. and we acknowledge the harms of genocide, enslavement, forced assimilation, gender violence, destruction of sacred sites, and the burial of historic truth about Indigenous suffering at the hands of U.S. colonial settlerism. We acknowledge that it goes on still today. We apologize for the harm, and we pledge ourselves to work towards the protection of sacred sites and villages and for the liberation of all. Let's take a moment. Introduce somebody that you may already know, Gloria Liggett. Gloria Liggett is a Tongva from the San Gabriel Valley, and she now lives in Santa Barbara as an active member of the Chumash and the American Indian Health and Services Native communities. She works closely with the youth of these communities as an elder mentor. As a founding member of Ethnic Studies Now, she works with the Santa Barbara City School District, representing the Native American people and their concerns for racial justice. Now in Santa Barbara, she is a member of the Live Oak Unitarian Universalist congregation, and she is a member of their Social Justice Committee and active in their religious education program. She's a retired educator and has taught in all grades from 1st to 12th. As an adjunct faculty member, she taught art and culture and education at Antioch University in Santa Barbara. In Los Angeles, she taught in South Central and at the USC Performing and Visual Arts School. In 1996, the LA County Bravo Award honored Gloria in her use of the arts to enhance student achievement and foster self-esteem, teamwork, and cross-cultural communication and understanding. When Gloria was an active member of the church in Ocean Park, she and her boys were active in the religious education program and family camping trips and activities. Gloria is a part of our community and always remains forever and ever a part of our heart. We are grateful whenever you're here, Gloria, and so we'll hear from her in just a few moments.
Thank you, Janet. It's great to be here with all of you. Great to see you, Gloria, and all of you wonderful people. I'd like to start out with Cherokee morning song. Oh no, first we have our Thich Nhat Hanh chant to gather ourselves here before we do anything else. I have arrived, I am home in the here and in the now, and we'll do that 3 times. I have arrived, I am home in the here and in the now. I have arrived, I am home in the here and in the now. I have arrived, I am home in the here and in the now. It's a good reminder to be here now. This song is a Cherokee morning song, and it's by Walea, which are Rita Coolidge and her sisters, and the words are there for you. Wende Yaho, Wende Yaho, Wende Yaho, Wende Ya, Wende Ya, oh 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 oh, hey oh, hey oh, ya ya ya, Wende Yaho, Wende Yaho.
Now we welcome back Gloria. Welcome, Gloria. Oh, you're on mute, Gloria.
Little thing. Good morning. It's good to be with you again, to see familiar faces and to see some folks that I'd like to get to know. I love Santa Barbara, but I have to admit that I do miss my days in Ocean Park. I'm going to speak to you today mostly about the plight of the Native American community and Indigenous people and what they are facing and still view what they did face and still face to community members. Here in Santa Barbara, as Janet said, I'm active in the Chumash community. My family is Tongva, but I've been accepted lovingly into the Chumash community. Although it's funny, when we sing with a group, when I sing with a group of Chumash, they say, and here we are, the Chumash singers, and then they look over and they go, and a Tongva. I always laugh when they have to include that. While waiting for a traffic light the other day, I went past a school, and as I stopped, a group of young children went past with their families, and there they were in construction paper headbands, construction paper feathers, and I thought, oh, it's got to be Thanksgiving coming. And I wonder what the Thanksgiving story is that they heard and when we're going to change that. And importantly, these are difficult times for Indigenous people, but also challenging times. There are changes for us. The times are changing. As I remember speaking here to you about when I was a child and I would be in family gatherings, we'd play with the family, all the cousins together, and then they would call us together and say, before you leave now, remember, never tell anybody that you're Indian or Mexican. You can be Spanish, but never say you're an Indian. And of course, that gave me a strange feeling about why couldn't I admit who I was? And it wasn't until I was grown and a member of the faculty at a school in Los Angeles, and I was asked to join the ethnic study, the ethnic committees that worked as liaisons between the schools and the ethnic groups. And that I was Indian. Now here in Santa Barbara, Native young ones are learning their language, their songs, their culture, and being very proud of being Indigenous. They're becoming leaders in their community and speaking out when they feel they aren't being heard fairly. They grew up hearing the songs and the language and having a tomal, the Chumash canoe. They attend ceremonies. They're surrounded by their culture and they feel a real part of this culture. A short time ago, our young ones were part of and actually the leaders of a protest to stop the taking over of the last of the open green spaces up against the foothills in Santa Barbara. The owner of the property, who previously had been an absentee owner and wasn't around much, had permitted the community to use that area, but then decided that he was going to build, which would destroy that land and the plants and the animals. There were beautiful Indigenous plants and some endangered little animals. The Chumash had become caretakers of that land, and they had managed the plants and gathered their medicine there. And the young ones had grown up taking care of the land and gathering. Now they were going to be taken away from all of this. So the kids decided to take a stand, and stand they did. At the entrance to a trail that went up to the preserve, they set up a camp. They had sunrise and sunset ceremony and gathered all day to hold that sacred space. Folks brought them food and joined into the protest. But then one morning when they got up early to do their sunrise singing and their prayers, a bulldozer came and tried to get past them, but they would not move. Finally, they were arrested. Not just arrested, but put in and dragged off to jail. They were kept in jail they were separated, kept in jail for 2 days. And of course, as soon as they were released, back they were, right back again at the trailhead, blocking the way. The rest of the community then stayed and became really part of the protest. I joined in and other elders came and joined these kids. Non-native people from the community joined, and soon there was a large gathering of people at those sunrises and sunset ceremonies and all through the day. And finally, the owner gave in, decided on a fair price, and sold the land. People had gotten together and raised enough money during that time to buy that land. And now the San Marcos Preserve is open again for hiking and gathering medicinal plants and being part of the land. As I watch the news and see the results of climate change, of global warming, and of how Mother Earth is being treated, of the separation between communities, of the animosity between people who might vote differently, or so much violence and anger, I think of the words of Crazy Horse, of his prophecy. Here's what he said. Upon suffering beyond suffering, the red nation shall rise again, and it shall be blessing. It will be a blessing for a sick world, a world filled with broken promises, selfishness, and separations, a world longing for light again. I see a time of 7 generations, when all of the colors of mankind will gather under the sacred tree of life, and the whole earth will become one circle again. In that day, there will be those who will carry the knowledge and understanding of unity among all living things for wisdom. I salute the light within your eyes, where the whole universe dwells. For when you are at the center within you, and I am in that place within me, we shall be one. What true words he spoke. And I think that time is quickly approaching. There are some examples of the changes our community is making. I want to tell you about what we've been doing here in Santa Barbara. And we've been working together as people of color and our white allies. Santa Barbara has been in the past plagued with wildfires. The land is dry, hasn't been allowed to grow all of these plants, and they have dried out and were ready to burn, and did burn in several occasions. Natives used to do burning. Now the fire departments are consulting with the natives and controlled burnings. And so far, we haven't had another fire. There are Native people on boards and committees working to protect our channel, our islands, our open lands. Their teachings and opinions and leadership are being respected and listened to. Here in Santa Barbara, the Native folks have banded together with other communities to bring some much needed changes to our schools. A small community group was able to get ethnic studies as a graduation requirement. We're hiring teachers of color so children can see people who look like them teaching them. They're also learning their own histories, which are not usually included in our school's history classes and texts. And right now, curriculums for the junior high and elementary school are being written. And that will be a beautiful day when all of the children are able to learn of their own real history. Down in Carpinteria, that was an amazing thing. We had many scary meetings. They got so scary that I had to be walked out by police when I went out to my car because they were so upset that we were trying to get rid of this mascot. The mascot was very important to them. And the pictures they had were terrible, almost cartoon-like figures of Native people. But finally, we were able to make that change. These people are working at solving racial problems on our campuses, and they trying to ease the homophobia that is occurring in the schools. We're challenging the administration to offer more counseling to young ones who need to learn to work together. not just be sent out of school. We were able to get the sheriffs and the police with guns off the high school campuses. Those sheriffs are a particular threat to our students of color. We're having problems with one another. It all takes community, people respecting one another and working on these problems facing the schools. Another Native belief that is so important now is a belief that Mother Earth and all animals and all things are of the earth are our family. Here's a quote from Linda Blackwell, an ethnobotanist who is a member of the Watauga tribe. Native Americans know more about the environment than many because we don't just live here and struggle to survive. We participate with the earth, with the animals and the plants. We're not separate from them. They are our relatives. They take care of us, and we take care of them. If we truly believed this, we would not be doing the harm we are doing to our earth. We wouldn't treat family this way. I have a group of singers who rehearse at my garden 2 times a month, and one of the singers commented afterwards, "I notice you seem to know the birds that are in your garden. You speak to them. You say hakuka to the crows as they come to sit in your tree and sit in the fence, and you even greeted a little lizard that came to the rock in the garden." "I do. They're family." She looked at me in a quizzical way and said, "You really mean it, don't you?" "Of course I do," was my answer. I wonder if she went home to her garden and spoke to a crow. I hope so. I even say good morning to my liquid amber tree each day. Try it. Greet the plants and birds and see how connected you'll feel. But really, if we all treated the world around us as family, how much better off our earth would be. I know this is really hard these days with the folks around us sometimes. There seems to be so much division and bad feelings expressed in our world, but we do need to remember we are all family, and sometimes family is difficult. One good thing that is happening in Santa Barbara, and here it seems too, is the use of land acknowledgements at the beginning of meetings. This is being done in every meeting I attend these days, and I think it's so important to at least acknowledge that we are all on native land. Just having acknowledged is important. I have a friend who is a priest up in the Santa Barbara Mission. Not too long ago, there was graffiti put upon the front of the church. When I saw my friend Larry, I don't call him Father Larry, and he smiles. "Gloria," he says, "where were you and your young ones the other night?" "I promise I didn't do it," I said. "I didn't do it." The mission needs to admit that those days with the Indians at the mission weren't happy days. "We need to talk about this," he said. "Come on up and we'll have coffee and talk." "I'm not going to the mission," I said. "Why not?" "Because you're going to make me work or build something." He laughed and laughed, gave me a hug and said, "We'll just go out for coffee." He hugged me again and said, I get it. And I think he does. We do need to talk about so many things with others, but in a safe way, with good intentions and smiles. There are many ways that are slowly changing in the way Native Americans are being accepted. The history of the treatment of our people is a grim one. So many examples of how we were not recognized as being worthy of respect and valued, from bounties put upon our heads, our land being taken, to more recent times. Away from the families. I have a friend who was one of those children. He was taken away. She lived in Mono Lake at the reservation there, and was taken from her family and put in a school in Riverside. She said the first thing they do, of course, was cut off their hair. They weren't allowed to speak their language or sing their songs. So she and her cousin climbed a tree in the garden each day and spoke to each other in their language and sang their songs. But when that was discovered, they were taken down, they were punished and made to scrub the hallways on their hands and knees. During the summers, the children all went to work for families in the community, were hired by these families to work. They would sit along the edges of the hall, and women would walk down with the teacher, looking at the children and deciding who they wanted to hire. She said one day, "What can we expect these kids to do? What can they do?" The teacher answered, "Oh, like clean the toilets and scrub." My friend said, "I'm never going to clean somebody's toilet." Never would. And she was always hired just to take care of the children because she refused to scrub anyone else's toilet. She and her cousin were at the boarding school until they were ready to graduate from high school. They weren't ever able to visit their families in all that time or even talk on the phone because most of them didn't have phones and because they spoke the native language and the students weren't allowed that. By that time, the students had actually forgotten most of that language. These girls wanted to go out to college. They wanted to be teachers. So their principal, who was amazing, took out a life insurance policy for them and got a loan against it so that they could have enough money to go to college. And they went up to UCSB. They graduated and went back to the reservation to teach, only to find out that Native teachers weren't allowed on the reservation. They both ended up going back and teaching in Santa Monica, and my friend became teacher of the year in the Santa Monica schools. She was a wonderful teacher, but not allowed to teach on her reservation. Many children had these boarding school experiences. The trauma that came from this has had a lasting effect upon all Native people. Much work has been done in communities to overcome our Native past, to overcome the way Indigenous people were viewed. Our Native communities are beginning to thrive, although there is still much to be done. I look to our young people to bring about positive change. Young people and elders working together can bring about the healing and promote the ways we as a Native community can help with the past families. Indigenous people around the world hold much wisdom. Slowly, they too are being recognized, and they are stepping up to work together for the good of the planet. Remember the words of Crazy Horse. I see a time of 7 generations when all the colors of mankind will gather under the sacred tree of life, and the whole earth will become one circle again. For when we are at that center within, you and I am in that place within me, we shall be as one. Oh.
Oh, thank you so much, Gloria. That was amazing. The earth is our mother. The earth is our mother. We must take care of her. The earth is our mother. We must take care of her. Hey, yana, ho, yana, hey, yan, yan. Hey, yana, ho, yana, hey, yan, yan. Her sacred breast we walk upon. With every step we take, her sacred breast we walk upon. With every step we take. Hey, yana, ho, yana, hey, yan, yan. Hey, yana, ho, yana, hey, yan, yan. I am the forest and I am the tree. I don't have a voice. Will you speak for me? Hey, yana, ho, yana, hey, yan, yan. Hey, yana, ho, yana, hey, yan, yan. I am the river and I am the sea. I don't have a voice, so will you speak for me? Hey, yana, ho, yana,
And thank you, Gloria, for a beautiful message. You somehow are able to tell the truth in a way that is loving and also hopeful. It's hard. It's an amazing gift you have, and thank you so much for sharing. This is a time of community sharing now, so people have an opportunity to speak a few words or to ask Gloria a question. And you can raise your hand. You can see how other people are already doing that by going down to your reactions and then pushing raise hands. You can go like this, and we may or may not see you. So it's better to try to do the Zoom way. And I see Chris has his hand up. Chris.
Yeah, it's always such a pleasure to be in the company of Gloria. And I have that Westchester, which was where Gloria would ride her horse through the bean fields back in the 1940s, that we're going to be welcoming our first supportive housing and access housing coordinated by Tara Barascas of the Santa Monica Community Corporation, which was born from the church. So several of us through the years have lived in Westchester, including Leah Grossman, and the former minister Sandy has been living here recently. And it's a place that's sort of a suburb of Santa Monica in so many ways, but was always held as just that, a suburb. And now, thanks to good effort, a little the Reform Temple of Westchester will soon, within a couple of years, welcome almost 100 families who otherwise would not be able to afford to live on the west side of Los Angeles. And the other thing that I wanted to lift up is the Buffy St. Marie special that was aired on PBS this week, and I highly recommend it to one and all. She was so inspiring and has done so much for Native peoples and Native voices. So I just want to thank Gloria for being with us again, and I just love how we are able to carry on. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris. Appreciate it. Craig? Craig Ali, there.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I am in receipt of what you say about the hostility towards Native American people. I am also mindful of much of the, I guess you could call it gaming that goes on within various tribes. And I'm wondering specifically, is there an effort by some to more or less encourage those tribes that are in receipt of these funds to spread more of an honest history about the struggles of Native people, within these lands? I feel that, if children understand that heritage and they understand it deeply, then that poses as a means of survival. So I'm wondering just what kind of, if any, movement there is to, make gamers available to come up with funds to address education for Native American children, because they would be sensitive, more or less to the uniqueness of that struggle.
Did you want to answer, Gloria? Or respond in any way? Oh, you're muted. There you go.
I don't know anything that's being done directly by the Chumash, at least by the Chumash reservation here. I know they are in the valley very supportive of education there, and they do a lot for the schools in the San Ynez Valley and for other groups of working with families, but I don't know anything specific that they're doing.
Yeah, and I think that you know, as Gloria said, she is very involved in the schools and in making changes. Many efforts to do that around the nation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Maureen? You're muted. You're muted, Maureen.
Thank you, Gloria. What a beautiful, beautiful talk, and always good to connect.
Mhm.
It was many years ago that you actually gave me permission to talk to the plants in my backyard and the crows and the birds. And, you know, it's something I was drawn to, but felt weird about. And I don't feel weird about it anymore. And I do it every morning. So thank you for that. We had this, like, this is a sadness and a joy, I guess. Chris was cleaning out his office, his home office, for you know, a couple years out retirement, and he came across. He had saved these notes I took on the Bayona hearing at the Planning Commission downtown. So some of you may remember that the Indian remains, native remains, that it's supposed to halt building in that area, and there were hundreds of Indian remains in the Bayona Creek. And when it was discovered, and your son Jordan and Lissa too, I think, were monitors, native monitors on that. They saw them all scooped up, you know, put in a box, and building continued. So we all went. I mean, many of us from the community went with you to the Planning Commission downtown to protest that, and we gave all of our speaking time over to Jordan. But I took notes, because Chris couldn't come, of what everyone else said except Jordan, because I was so riveted. And also, I still remember so clearly his just poignant response when the Planning Commission said, well, I think they're handling the bones respectfully. And if I told you I was respectfully digging up your grandmother's grave and moving her bones to a place that I did not choose, how would you feel? And of course, there was no answer except that they went ahead with the building anyway.
Right.
So, yeah. And so to hear the San Marcos Preserve joyful success was really beautiful, given, you know, just yesterday we were looking at, you know, what happened here very locally. So I want to thank you for that, and thank you for all your efforts. And I know that you're also a great support for Native youth in Santa Barbara, and how lucky to have a grandma like you.
Well, may I say that the way they were so respectfully handled, we weren't allowed to bring cameras, but I was invited as an elder to do a blessing. And we went to the place where the burials were, and there were literally those garbage pails with then they were Gabrielino child written on the side of the white garbage pails. Wow. That the bones were in. It was not respectful at all.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Rachel Rose?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Gloria, for your words. A while back, it's been a while, in response to, or in a discussion I had on Facebook, I did kind of a deep dive into the Native American ideas around restorative justice and their justice system. And I wanted to know if you had any thoughts on what that could look like for our modern age, and whether or not the youth have this in mind and are hopefully pushing that kind of a narrative. It's my understanding that much of the pre-colonization times, there was no like written record like the council meetings and how they went about dispensing justice for crimes against the community. And I wanted to know what your thoughts were on that.
Well, I really have no idea if anything is being done along those lines. Familiar with them, sorry.
Okay, thank you very much. Linda?
Thank you. Thank you, Gloria. I was really struck by the grace and humor that you were able to bring to something that is just really devastating. I was thinking about the Roxanne Dunbar Ortiz mentions that there were whipping posts in every mission. And I mean, that doesn't take a lot of explanation. What I remember, I mean, I grew up in Los Angeles. I went to school in Los Angeles Unified School District for 13 years, kindergarten through 12th grade. I did, the California Mission project with the sugar cubes like every other kid in the 50s. And I thought, and then I started student teaching in a 4th grade class. In 1973, 72, I was student teaching in a 4th grade classroom in Los Nietos School District in Whittier. And I'm looking at this 4th grade book, and it says that Indigenous people were enslaved in the missions. And I remember thinking, oh shit, nobody ever told me that. This is 1973. I'm a student teacher getting ready to teach. Nobody ever told me that, right? And I still remember the shock of seeing this 4th grade classroom that at least they were beginning to tell a little bit of the truth to 9-year-olds. Here I am, supposedly ready to teach, right? And I didn't know shit about this. And I mean, it's one of the things, I tell that anecdote to my students at East LA College when I'm teaching about this, because I think our young people need to know the truth, and they also need to know, right? I mean, and I guess I want to just close with talking about the history that I teach about from the Pequot Wars of 1638, because the other lie that is taught in U.S. history is that Indigenous people in the on the Atlantic coast were not enslaved. And reading John Winthrop's diary and correspondence, in the aftermath of the Pequot War, every man that they could find, they murdered. And they enslaved the women and girls. And they sent the boys to Barbados in exchange for Africans. And the interchangeability throughout the documents in colonial history in Massachusetts and Connecticut, you see an interchangeability of enslaved Africans and enslaved indigenous people in terms of the laws and the practice. And I think knowing that deepens our understanding of US history in ways, I mean, just that little piece of information. And I'd be happy to send anybody, I'll put my email in the chat. I'll send anybody who wants sources and wants to like go deeper in that, I'll be happy to share that. But to really understand that in the eyes of the colonial oppressors, enslaved indigenous people and enslaved Africans were understood to be interchangeable is says a lot.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that, Linda. Yeah, Gloria, go ahead. You're muted.
One of the things that I've been working with for 7 years now, we had a group called Ethnic Studies Now, a community group, and there were Native people on that community and others. That's why it's so important to bring ethnic studies in the schools, and we finally. But because the history of people of all different kinds of people haven't been told. All we know are what the wars white men fought, and we don't know about our history. But one of the problems right now that's facing us that everyone should be aware of are the groups of people here in Santa Barbara. They're called Fair Education, who are fighting us. They're so upset to have ethnic studies in the schools. They're trying very hard to get it out. They don't want their kids to know their history. They don't, and one of the big reasons, because we've met with them so often, they're very upset with ethnic studies. We meet with them often when they're attacking us. And one of the things they've said is, we don't like any of this. It makes the white children feel so guilty. Well, that's not what we're trying to do. And that's not the case that we hear from the kids. I work closely with the ethnic studies teachers in the schools now, and a lot of their students and the kids, they formed clubs. And that's not what they say. They say it isn't making us feel bad. We're understanding it so we don't do it. And they get it. But the fair education people in every school district, I'm sure, are really active, and we need to be careful of them.
Right. Yeah, they definitely are in Santa Monica as well.
Yeah, they're scary.
Yeah. Hurley Jim.
Hi, Gloria. Thanks for everything you bring us. I've learned so much from you over the years, and I appreciate what you just told us about the FAIR group. I know there are groups like that, but I didn't know about that, and that you are meeting with them, which is good. It's good, you know. But anyway, thanks for that. But what I was going to say was, when you were telling the story about your friend who grew up around Mono Lake, and I just wanted to ask, now you and I know some of the same people, but I think, were you talking about Vi Martinez or Vi Moroni? Yeah, okay, right, I thought so, yeah, because that was her story to a T. And yeah, I got to know her through my work at Mono Lake, and I mean, she lived 1.5 miles from us here, where we live, and it was very inspiring to really get to know her, and see that she and her friends changed the direction of what they were doing at the Sherman Indian School to a large degree. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hurley Jim. Dr. Kim?
Yes. Thank you so much, Gloria. I didn't know if you had any response to, I guess there's a federal lawsuit that's happening right now that I have a I just looked up something because I heard about it this morning. The Supreme Court case that could break Native American sovereignty is an article that's in the Atlantic, and it's a lawsuit, Hallen versus Brackman, where a handful of white foster parents, among other plaintiffs, are asking the Supreme Court to overturn a law called the Indian Child Welfare Act, created in 1978 to prevent family separation in Native communities. And do you have a response about that, or is there something that your community is thinking about in terms of that case?
No, actually, I don't know anything about it, but I do know that is a problem that we feel has to be handled. That it isn't okay for Native kids to be taken away from their tribes and raised by people who aren't Native. Or
Yeah,
people
so-
not only that aren't Native, but people who wouldn't let the kids continue to be Native.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so I put a link
I
up there.
haven't read that.
There's lots of, there's other things, but this just happens to be the one that I found just now about that. So yeah.
Yeah, I'd be interested in knowing about that.
So it's in the chat.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have two more, Bob and then Joanne.
Okay. Thank you for being with us, Gloria. You're all. I'm thinking about the struggle in our country between people who want more of the truth of American history told and people who want much, even less told than we've been having, which is which would be amazingly little. But in some ways, that there are a lot of people who don't want the truth told about the two great human rights crimes against humanity, slavery and the genocide of Native Americans. And in some ways, it seems as if people tend to know even less about the genocide issue. For instance, a lot of people realize, and James Madison and all those guys held slaves, but we, and I include myself in this, but I tend to know a lot less about what their policies were and practices were with respect to Native peoples. And I think that question should always be raised. For instance, Abraham Lincoln. Many people know, people who are pretty progressive know a lot about his attitudes towards slavery, but you almost never hear the question even raised, what were his government's policies toward Native Americans? What about what the railroads were doing and all that? So I just think that question, whenever people are talking about American history.
Right. Thanks, Bob. Joanne?
I was glad to hear, Gloria, you said that the students were reporting that they didn't feel guilty because there's good news and bad news here in Santa Monica around schools. And the bad news, in my opinion, is that we are losing our Black district superintendent of schools.
Oh, no.
And it is because of the resistance that he has received from the beginning, which has ramped up in recent years, to his attempts to deal with social justice issues in the curriculum and so forth. The good news in Santa Monica around schools is that the woman who was running, I don't know if she's part of this, who are parents, white parents, who are determined to get control over what kids are allowed to read in school. And she was soundly defeated as she was running for school board here, even though she had more money backing her than any other school board candidate.
Thank you, Gloria. You have really got our juices going, shall we say. And you've done it in a way that also provided not only the history, some things that we didn't know and some things that we did, but also hope for the future, and also motivated us for more action. So I really, really appreciate that a lot. Dr. Kim?
Yes, thank you. Okay, everyone, please let's take a breath together. And just breathe. I did have a chance to watch that American Masters about Buffy St. Marie and just this week on PBS. I'm actually looking forward to seeing it again. And that got me thinking about her and her music. And so what I'd like to play right now is, let's see if I can get this going here, is one of her songs. And I should be able to share my screen on this. It's called You've Got to Run. And it's about the spirit of the wind.
Whether you're a woman or whether you're a man, sometimes you got to take a stand. Just because you think you can, you got to run, you got to run. Whether you're a woman or whether you're a man, sometimes you got to take a stand. Just because you think you can, you got to run, you got to run, run. Crying against the odds, you're in a trance. Say, who did you think you are to have a chance? You're a no one from a place where everyone knows. So you better hang on and hey, you better run. 'Cause here's your chance and your race is begun. Down in a hole, you feel like two different people in your soul. Feel like a loser until you see that as you bend, you learn to be your own best friend. And you learn how and you learn when to take a chance on the spirit of the wind. Whether you're a woman or whether you're a man, sometimes you got to take a stand. Just because you think you can, you got to run, you got to run, run. Babe, ain't we been down? We've been so broken, been so low that I kiss the ground. But you can see yourself a winner beyond the money and the greed, beyond the prizes of pure untested need. And to be a champion is more than luck and speed. It's power and freedom in the spirit of the wind. run, you got to run.